Welcome to the Bernitha Rena Relates Podcast. I'm your host, Bernitha Rena. Today's story is all about faith, grit, and building more than just a house. What started as a chance meeting between my family and theirs turned into something none of us could have imagined. It was one family, one dream, and a community of strangers brought together for a purpose bigger than any of us could have expected. For this family, their belief was their blueprint. They rolled up their sleeves and they built more than just a dream home. They built a legacy. If you've ever wondered what's possible when courage meets conviction, you don't want to miss how this story unfolds. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Bernitha.
Welcome to the Bernitha Rena Relates Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I am so happy you're here to share your story. So, Melissa, I just want to jump right into it. You've done something so inspiring, building a dream home at a time in your life where many people might have said, now's not the time, I'll wait. If you could just take us back for a moment when you first thought, what if I don't wait? What if I just do this now? What sparked that shift in your mindset?
That's a great question, Bernitha. I had an interaction with a coworker who was actually a mentor of mine. And so while we were talking, he was sharing, he's older than me, and he was talking about the right time to retire. He said it's really a effort of trying to find when you are not too old to enjoy retirement, but yet young enough to where you've completed all the things that you want to do through work.
Right.
And so there's this sweet spot that you want to look for. And so I applied that advice to my dreams of, eventually moving into a one-story. At the time, we had built our first home and two-story. And I had already acknowledged that we were going upstairs less and less.
Okay.
We're getting older. We're not old by any means.
Right.
But it's like, you know what? I know at some point we're going to have to be in a one story because, as you age and if you want to live out your life in your home, it's like two story is not going to be the answer.
You don't want to be climbing stairs.
Right. And so I applied that logic to the house. It's like, you know what? Why do I need to wait until I can't go up the stairs to move into a one story? Let's move into the one story now so we can enjoy it while we are still young and able to enjoy it. And that was really the purpose that kind of motivated me to be like, you know what? He's right. I don't have to wait until it's too late. My husband had already been talking about it. We had talked about it. But for me, moving is like, I needed to find the motivation behind it. And so that conversation became my motivation for, okay, this is the right time to do it. Because it's a big decision to move your kids to a different school district. Right. It's a big decision to leave your comfort zone. Loved my location. I had a lot of reasons that I wanted to stay. We had been there 20 years. Right. So I knew we would have to move away from our community or away from our kids' school, all those things. But that story resonated with me in such a way that I was like, you know what? Let's do it now. Let's not wait until we're too old. And so that's how we got started.
Wow. So you mentioned that your coworker encouraged you to follow your dreams now rather than waiting. How did that conversation impact your decision to actually go out and start looking for land to build what was a custom house, right?
He planted a seed. And so my personality is like, once I get the vision, like we're going to look into it. There were things in life where you feel like you've waited too late and you've seen the effects of not moving when the vision hits you. And so I didn't want this to be another example of letting fear keep me from moving forward with something. And so I began the search. I would look every day on the real estate pages. We went out looking for land in different areas. We actually put a bid in on a property where we live now. We ended up backing out. And then we found this other one. It was $30,000 less.
Wow.
It was great. And so we were ready to move. So that process of looking, trying to identify how we're going to pay for it, all those things had set us up so that when we found the right opportunity, we were able to seize it.
Right. You finally found the perfect piece of property. You put in an offer and you're like, okay, let's move forward. But if we could, let's back up just a little bit to before you put in that offer for the land. Because I remember when I met you, you guys were still in your journey of looking for property. And we were in the process of finishing up our construction, the build for our house. And I recall that you guys were still trying to determine, okay, what city, what exact location should we move to? We're not for certain. When I met you, I remember you're like, not even for sure if I want to do a build, do new construction, but we're just looking. We're just going to step out on faith and just start looking around. And so I remember we would often see each other. My husband and I would often go into different properties and just kind of get different design ideas and try to figure out what we want to do with our own build. And so we would see you guys, we would see your car, and we'd be like, we keep seeing this couple. Everywhere we go, we keep seeing this couple. We're both going into trespassing, going and looking at all these homes all over the place. But I remember one day we just really stopped and we talked. And we shared our story with you guys about what we had done, what we had overcome. And so I'll share with our audience a little bit about our story. So we start looking into the possibility of doing a custom build. So we had a piece of property, but we were still trying to figure out our build process. And we had a friend who had helped his father do some building, and that friend was in construction. He gave us some good advice. And so we took that advice and we just really ran with it. We started getting building quotes and we started collecting as much information as we could on the process. So we researched it for about 6 months. As we were going through our research, we started to talk to different builders. And as I'm talking to these builders, some things just weren't adding up. As we're in these meetings with these builders, I'm going through the cost with them line by line. I'd ask questions like, okay, you're saying a concrete slab foundation costs about how much? And they would give me a number. And you're saying the lumber takeoff quote is what now? And they would tell me. And I would say, but I don't understand how you're coming up with these numbers. And they would get so frustrated with me, like no builder liked me. Everywhere we went, they could not stand me. So one day, my husband and I are driving home, and I'm so frustrated because it was another meeting where I had been wearing these guys out trying to figure it out. And he was like, you're never going to figure out how they're getting their numbers. And I'm like, what do you mean? Why not? And he was like, well, all that extra money, that's their profit. And it was like an aha moment. Like, that makes sense. No shade against builders. They're in the business of making money. And they've got all this overhead, staff, website. And so I understand. But frankly, we couldn't afford that. And then we thought, if they can do it, why can't we do it? So we set out to build our own home. I'm not saying it was easy. It wasn't easy, but it was certainly an adventure. We learned a lot. And we met a lot of great people along the way. Some of those great people we met along the way was yourself and your husband. And so as you were looking for land, we would be out just looking around and getting ideas, and we would run into each other. I remember you specifically saying, and it's so funny because your husband was all gung-ho. And I know, you guys kind of switch positions during the process.
To my yang.
Yes. But I was like, have you considered doing it yourself? And you're like, wait, I don't even know if I want to build a house. Period, let alone try to do it ourselves. And I'm like, well, wait. The reason why I think you can do it is because if we can do it, you can do it.
Yes, you guys I don't think we'd be in our house if not for y'all. Full transparency, because I am very much a stay in my lane kind of girl. And I know my limitations. I don't know anything about construction. And I was always worried. I was like, my house going to be lopsided because, people tell you one thing and they do another. So that was my concern. And you guys, you stood by your commitments. Like, we will help you. We will walk with you in the process. And just a godsend, because it wasn't just lip service. You guys sat with us. Once we made the decision to build, you guys met with us, walked us through the process, shared all of the things that you learned in your building process.
All our mistakes.
All of your mistakes. Don't do this. And it's become a pay it forward kind of thing. Like you said, my husband was gung-ho, let's do it.
Right.
And me, you got to make it make sense. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to go forward. I'm that person. And so meeting you guys gave me the comfort. And the other thing that was unique and another divine situation, I worked from home during that time. So I was supposed to be the quote unquote general
Project
contractor
manager,
and the one being available to be on site to manage the build and the builders. I knew that was something I wasn't comfortable with, just from the perspective of being able to identify if something wasn't right and challenging a contractor on, hey, this is not right. The divine thing, which was not great for the world, but worked in our favor, is that COVID hit. My husband traveled almost exclusively for work. Well, he built buildings for his job.
Look
that
at
was
that.
part of what he did.
Yeah.
So when COVID hit, he could no longer travel. So I went from being the person on site managing the contractors to being the admin, which was very much my lane.
Much more fitting. Yes.
It was very much my lane.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with getting quotes, negotiating prices, trying to find vendors, searching online for the best deals. That was like a divine blessing for us, so that we had that happen during that time and allowed him to be on site for the entire
For
build.
the entire thing. And you know what? I could tell that he really liked it because we would often stop by the build site and just chat and check on y'all and see what questions you had. And it was so funny because I would see him in these coveralls, and you could tell the coveralls were brand new because they didn't have one speck of dirt on them. And so he was like, I know he bought these coveralls specifically so he could be out here
and work. Yes. I mean, who's going to be at the building site with no bathroom?
a porta potty, but that's basically to us, no bathroom. Right.
Look, we're going to have to drive every time I have to go to the bathroom. Anyway, it was not for me.
Understood. And I feel like our friendship really grew through that build process because, I mean, we technically were strangers.
Yes.
When we met and had that conversation, even though we're so gung-ho and so excited, I mean, we didn't even know y'all's last names. As a matter of fact, through most of the build process, my husband was calling your husband the wrong name. And he would be on the phone with contractors getting quotes for you guys. And he'd be like, yeah, I'm getting it from my brother. He would tell the people that he was his brother so they could understand, I got a connection to him. Don't try to mess him over.
But that really also just speaks to the genuineness of you guys as a couple. Because honestly, you're right. Y'all were out searching quotes. Y'all helped us get our kitchen appliances. Your husband found those deals.
That was on my husband. He loves that kind of stuff, right?
But you know, it still is time away from other things. And when you got people like this in your corner out here looking for you, hustling for you, you got to pay it forward. You got to bless other people with the information that you get because...
Right. And you guys have done that a lot. I know for a fact how you paid it forward. Did you have any other reservations that you had to overcome?
I have to go back to selling our house again.
Okay.
I'm risk adverse.
Okay.
I had done the numbers about should we keep the house and rent it out? But I was like, what kind of risk would that put us at when we don't have a renter? So me, I'm kind of always, I don't want to be stressed in life.
Understood.
So we needed to sell our house before we would start building. We already had the land, but we've been in the house at this point, maybe 18, 20 years.
Wow.
We ended up having to invest a lot of money getting rid of popcorn ceilings, painting it to be more appealing to the new home buyers and things of that nature. I didn't think we would have a problem selling a house. We had tons of people come through, and literally 2 people bid on the house.
Wow.
One fell through and only one went through. By this point, we've moved into an apartment because when you have a family of 5, I don't have time to keep cleaning the house.
Right.
So we moved out thinking it's going to be a quick sale. We were in that apartment for 6 months. It did not sell like we thought it would. And then the other thing I learned from that process, all this work we did for somebody else to enjoy, do this work while you living in the house.
Makes sense.
You know, so
you can enjoy it too.
Yeah, enjoy it. I made all these changes for somebody else to enjoy.
Right.
And so I will definitely not do that again. That was a lesson that I learned.
Back a little bit to the home building process. What were some of your challenges? How did you tackle those?
It's interesting because I feel like we had a good experience. There's one thing about our house that in hindsight we would do differently, and that was our pocket doors. Keep in mind, we're doing all of this research during COVID. So the prices were amazing. People were trying to unload lots of materials and supplies. So one of the things we found a super fantastic deal on was doors. We were like, we're going to use one of these doors for our pocket door.
Okay.
So little things like that. But I really, honestly, we had a great experience between the guidance from you guys and working with our general contractor who has to represent us at the bank. We really had a good experience. Me and my husband have nothing but good memories of building our house. I'm on online auctions, buying stuff.
Right.
Look, I had that first run of being on an online auction, buying stuff I didn't need.
I remember you showing me all those lights.
Don't go together.
But I've been there. I've got a box full of lotions I'll never use. You got to be careful with those auctions. And it's so funny that you mentioned the doors. We found an excellent deal on these huge windows, and we had them modified to make them doors. Biggest headache in the house. I get it. Sometimes it's just worth paying a little extra money and getting what you really want. Are there any other ways that the pandemic affected your home build?
We have a historic low interest rate.
Yeah.
So we built right in that
Perfect time.
window.
Divine.
And I'm like, that's nothing but God.
Yeah.
You can't plan it. I went from having to be the person on site to being in my lane as the administrator. It's just God. I just thank him every day. Every time I think about the house, I just give him thanks
All
because
the glory.
I know that he ordered our steps.
He did.
Meeting you guys, having access to all of the resources, and doing something we had completely never done before.
Just stepping out on faith.
Stepping out on faith based on a seed that was planted by a coworker.
Sure.
I feel so grateful.
What are some of the key lessons you learned from this experience that you would like to share with others who might be thinking, maybe I'll consider that path?
I believe in praying about big decisions. Even though I very much researched, did the numbers, I'm all about make it make sense. You want that to help fuel your passion for the project, but you still got to be willing to sit back. Okay, Lord, open the doors. When he opens doors, that to me is a sign that we're going in the right direction.
Understood.
I don't believe in pushing through doors because sometimes that's God's way of saying, no, not that one. I do try to be in tune with the spirit and always challenging myself. What's my why for this? Even when we were building, we had our neighbor who is a pastor. We had them walk the property with us. This is very much an edifice to give God the glory. For me, as a person of faith, that's always at the forefront. And so I will always be in a position to say, hey, if I can help somebody with what God has blessed me with, I will do that.
So what's next for you, Melissa, now that you've built your dream home? What's next on the horizon?
We hope to retire within the next 5 years, but that's a journey. We're still working out what those details would look like.
Okay.
And I have a desire to live abroad.
Oh.
I have a desire to have a place outside of the U.S.
Beautiful.
Multiple places. Let me rephrase that.
Okay, claim it.
One of the benefits of building your own home is the instant equity.
Right.
So my dream, I'm manifesting. I tell it to everybody I talk to.
Absolutely.
Is sell this house. I would love to have a home in the Caribbean.
Wow.
And a home in the United States.
Okay.
That suits my retirement lifestyle.
Okay.
And then the other 3 months, child 1, child 2, child 3. I say y'all need to have a room for your parents. And we're going to come back and take care of grandbabies and do those things. But I am a person who loves to travel.
Okay.
I'm a travel agent and I'm working on building my business. So my goal is that by the time I retire, I am fully up to speed and able to transition from a 9 to 5 to doing something that I love, which is planning trips and getting people together and seeing the world and exposing people to just life outside of the U.S.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm believing that with you because I want to have a room. We can come and visit anytime. What a beautiful vision for the future. And there's nothing like making money from doing what you love. Yeah, so I'm absolutely believing that for you. Listen, Melissa, I am so grateful and appreciative that you took the time to be with us today. This has been just a beautiful conversation. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
What an amazing story. It's a reminder that what's put in your heart can be put in your hands. Until next time, guys, keep dreaming and build your own path. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Bernitha Rena Relates and Facebook at Bernitha Rena Relates. And of course, like, subscribe, and share this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. Thanks for listening. I love you for it. We'll talk soon.
What's been